The store was already locking its doors when the scream cut through the quiet like a blade. Every customer who had stayed late froze, and somewhere near the register, a little boy whispered, "Daddy?" If Marcus had waited just 10 more seconds, he would have missed the moment that changed all their lives. Marcus Hale was exhausted in the way only a single parent could be. His back ached from a double shift, his hands still smelled faintly of engine oil from the garage where he worked all day, and his 5-year-old son Noah was slumped asleep against his chest in the cart seat. He had only stopped at the store for milk and cereal before closing, praying nothing would go wrong. But trouble has a way of finding the quietest people at the worst times. At the register stood Lily, the cashier everyone liked because she smiled even when customers didn't deserve it. She was young, maybe early 20s, working late nights to help her sick mother pay rent. Right in front of her was a man whose face had turned red with rage over something small, a coupon that had expired 2 days earlier. His voice grew louder with every word, echoing through the nearly empty store. Lily tried to explain calmly, hands shaking as she apologized again and again, but it only fueled him more. "You people are all the same," he shouted, slamming his fist on the counter so hard the register rattled. "Useless. Stupid. You think I'm paying full price?" Customers looked away. A security guard was nowhere in sight. Lily's eyes glistened, but she stayed professional, swallowing her fear like she'd been trained to do. Then the man leaned forward, invading her space, and suddenly his hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. That was when Noah woke up. "Daddy, she's scared," the boy whispered. Marcus didn't think. He moved. He stepped between the man and the counter in one calm, deliberate motion, placing his body like a shield. His voice was low but firm, steady in a way only someone who had learned patience the hard way could manage. "Let her go. Right now." The rude customer laughed at first, sizing Marcus up, noticing his worn jacket, the tired eyes, the kid clinging to him. "Mind your business," the man sneered. "This doesn't concern you." Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. He simply met the man's eyes and said something that silenced the room. "It concerns my son. And it concerns her. So it concerns me." For a moment, no one breathed. The man tightened his grip, then shoved Marcus hard in the chest. The cart rolled back slightly, Noah crying out in fear. Something in Marcus snapped, not with anger, but with resolve. He stood his ground. "You're done," Marcus said quietly. "Walk away. Or I call the police." The man swung. What happened next would be talked about in that store for years. Marcus blocked the hit, not with violence but with instinct, grabbing the man's arm and pushing it away. The movement was quick, controlled, the kind learned from years of protecting someone smaller than yourself. The man stumbled, shocked that someone like Marcus would resist. Customers finally reacted, phones coming out, someone yelling they were calling 911. The rude customer cursed, spit on the floor, and stormed out, shouting threats that no one believed anymore. The store went silent. Lily collapsed into tears. Marcus turned to her, gently checking her wrist. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft again, like a switch had flipped. She nodded, crying harder, thanking him over and over. Noah wrapped his arms around his dad's neck, whispering, "You were brave, Daddy." But the story didn't end there. The next day, a video of the incident went viral. Millions watched as a tired single dad calmly stepped in when no one else did. Comment sections filled with praise, but Marcus didn't even know. He didn't have time for social media. He was too busy worrying about bills, school lunches, and whether Noah's shoes would last another month. 3 days later, Marcus was called back to the store. He thought he was in trouble. Instead, the store manager stood waiting with Lily, her mother beside her in a wheelchair. The manager's voice shook as he explained that corporate had seen the video. Not only was Lily being promoted and offered counseling support, but Marcus was being offered a job, full benefits, flexible hours, and a salary that nearly doubled what he made at the garage. Then Lily's mother reached for Marcus's hand. "You didn't just save my daughter," she said softly. "You gave her back her dignity." Marcus couldn't speak. What broke him wasn't the applause that followed. It was Noah tugging on his sleeve and smiling proudly, the kind of smile that said, "My dad is my hero." That night, as Marcus tucked Noah into bed, his son asked, "Daddy, why did you help her?" Marcus kissed his forehead and answered in a way Noah would never forget. "Because one day, I hope someone would do the same for you." And that was the lesson millions learned from a single moment before closing time, that courage doesn't always shout, heroes don't wear suits, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply stand between cruelty and kindness. The scream came so suddenly that it felt like the store itself had flinched. Right before closing, when everyone was tired and just wanted to go home, a man's shout ripped through the quiet aisles, and in that instant, Marcus realized that if he stayed silent now, his son would learn the wrong lesson for the rest of his life. Marcus had only come in for milk. That was it. One small stop before heading home after a 14-hour day. His shoulders were heavy, his hands rough from work, and his 5-year-old son Noah was half asleep in the shopping cart, clutching a toy car with one missing wheel. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly as the cashier scanned items for the last few customers. Her name tag read Lily, and she wore the kind of tired smile people wear when they've learned that being polite is safer than being honest. The man standing in front of her was already angry when Marcus lined up, but his anger grew louder with every beep of the scanner. A coupon had expired. 2 days, Lily explained gently. Store policy. She apologized so many times it began to sound like a habit rather than a response. The man slammed his palm on the counter, shouting insults that made Noah stir. Other customers looked down, suddenly fascinated by their phones or the floor. Lily's hands shook as she reached for the receipt printer, her voice cracking as she tried to keep calm. Then the man leaned forward, close enough that Lily instinctively stepped back, and before anyone could react, he grabbed her wrist. The sound she made wasn't loud, but it was frightened, and that was enough. "Daddy," Noah whispered, eyes wide. "She's scared." Marcus didn't plan to move. He didn't think about consequences or cameras or whether he'd get hurt. He stepped forward and placed himself between the man and the counter, his body angled protectively, his voice steady and low. "Let her go." The man laughed, called him names, shoved him in the chest hard enough to rock the cart. Noah cried out. Marcus felt fear rise, but it didn't control him. He stood firm, looking the man in the eye, and said, "You don't get to hurt people because you're angry." The punch came fast, clumsy, fueled by pride. Marcus blocked it on instinct, pushing the arm away and forcing distance between the man and Lily. Someone screamed. Someone else finally shouted about calling the police. The rude customer cursed, knocked over a display, and stormed out, still yelling, but no one was listening anymore. Lily collapsed into tears, shaking, safe. Marcus knelt beside her, asking if she was okay, while Noah clung to him like he'd never let go. The store felt different now, quieter, heavier, but somehow warmer. 3 days later, Marcus thought the knock on his door meant trouble. Instead, it brought something he hadn't felt in years, relief. The video had spread faster than Marcus ever imagined. A customer's phone had captured everything, the shouting, the fear, the single dad stepping in without throwing a single punch. Millions watched it online, calling him a hero. Marcus didn't see any of it. He was too busy fixing dinner and worrying about rent. When the store manager asked him to come in, Marcus expected questions. What he got was gratitude. Lily was there, her wrist bandaged but her smile real this time. Her mother sat nearby in a wheelchair, tears in her eyes as she thanked Marcus for protecting her daughter when no one else did. the manager explained that corporate had seen the video. Lily was being promoted and given support. Marcus was being offered a job with benefits, stable hours, and enough pay that he wouldn't have to choose between groceries and electricity anymore. The room blurred as Marcus struggled to process it. He hadn't stepped in for praise. He hadn't done it for money. He'd done it because his son was watching.